Howdy, everyone. Good morning. This is the June 2nd iteration of the OpenJS Security Collab Space. We meet every Monday morning at 8:30 Pacific time. And it's great to have you all here today. So to um, get started, we just had a private presentation before recording from Tobias, and thanks, Tobias, for that. And so I wanted to open the floor to, before I hop into my agenda, open the floor to any comments or items from other folks for the public agenda. Nope. Okay, cool. All right. So to get started, last week we were going to or quasi launched our CNA. Everything on our side's pretty much done, but at this point, it's not clear what's going on with Red Hat. They have what they need. I guess we can email them again today to see what the gap is so that they can officially launch the OpenJS CNA. But if you haven't already, I think most people in the meeting right now have seen it before, have seen it so far. But if you have not, check it out. Check out the CNA at. Oh,
Also, Socket did a really nice news piece blog on this OpenJS CNA. So if you missed that, check it out.
oh yeah, yeah. That was really good.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, the big items here are that the big discussion points that excuse me, that are kind of remaining on regarding the CNA is whether or not Node.js is going to fall under the OpenJS CNA or stay with their own CNA. Raf, would you mind just giving folks an update on what's the latest vibe from Node.js on that?
Okay. I've opened an issue to discuss it with the TSC team, and we are just a bit worried about because we have a lot of automations for secret release. So normally we go through HackerOne and we have most of our automation to request CV and publish them based on a HackerOne automation. And changing it might not be easy as I thought it would be. Generally, the team is okay with moving to the OpenJS CNA. We are just taking a more cautious approach. So we migrated to the OpenJS CNA with the automation. So we make sure that in the next secret release, we won't break our existing tools. But the issue I sent in the chat, we still need to discuss it. But the idea is let's figure out what needs to change, and then we evaluate how hard it would be for us, and if that's okay, we can move it on. Yeah.
Cool, thanks, Raf. So yeah, the some of the discussion I saw in the issue was about the nature of like what the purpose of the CNA is. And so for just from my perspective, the while it'd be great if Node did use the OpenJS CNA to publish, I totally understand the automation aspect of this. And because you're all on HackerOne already, I can totally see why it would make sense for you to keep the automation infrastructure where you're at for right now. So um, yeah, I wouldn't want an expectation of moving automations and things like that to block um, this, but I just wanted to get that thought out there that nothing needs to change necessarily to an automation to actually run this to convert to the CNA. And the reason for that also is beyond Node.js is that we're asking folks to use GitHub's private vulnerability reporting feature, and that has a really great security advisories feature. Folks have a bit if other projects are using that, they could either request the CD itself through that process,
Yeah.
or they can request it from us. But that's for everybody
Oh,
who's not already on HackerOne, like Node.
yeah, we tried the GitHub advisory, but it doesn't work well for us because we need to we have our separate Jenkins suite that we need to fetch the the patch and then run the test against different machines in our infra. Open it as a GitHub advisory. There's no GitHub doesn't allow us to fetch the patch and then apply it to the infra. We have our automation to tests working in a, we have a separate Node.js private repository, which we open the pull request and we test it in a separate cluster of test suite that would not overlap with the public one. That's why we didn't change it. If you look to the Node.js security working group, we have previous discussions about that. And we have also asked GitHub to give us the opportunity to test it in a way that would work for us. They said they would do that, but nothing happened yet. That's why we didn't change it.
All right, cool. Thanks, Raf. So we'll just keep following the issue and see how the conversation goes. But appreciate you all um, taking the time to actually, consider this and take it seriously and think through things. So thanks very much for that.
Rod, Ulysses has his hand up.
Oh, I didn't see that. Ulysses.
Oh, yeah, as a minor comment is just to clarify also that even if you don't have like a Jenkins dependency for running your CI when you're using GitHub advisory, also if you depend on GitHub Actions, it's not working right now on these private forks. So even if you have the typical JavaScript repository, whatever, you still not have CI. So that, for example, is also painful for us in Node.js, I mean in Express especially, because sometimes we need to check again Node.js 0.10, which is hard to install in modern stuff. So yeah, that's typically hard. So yeah, I hope we can make some pressure on GitHub to make that happen one day, at least for the GitHub Actions to run in these private forks. That will be nice as a group. But yeah, just call out for making some lobby.
Yeah, that's a really good point and perspective. Yeah. Thanks for calling out, Ulysses. All right. So on the CNA, we'll reach out to Red Hat again, see what's going on and what else they need to officially launch the OpenJS CNA. Jordan, did they launch your CNA?
Yeah.
They did?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
there's no like they like tweeted about it, and I didn't like make a blog post or anything because I don't have a blog, but I quote tweeted it and retweeted it and all that stuff.
All right,
Rod,
cool.
I don't know if Rod, if you saw the note from Ben, but the URL you gave him was wrong because the security pages are all up security page. So I don't know if they have the correct CNA URL. So I don't know if that's
Oh
the
yeah,
blog
that's right. Because we changed that after I contacted them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that with them too when I ping them in for updates.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Alrighty, cool. Beans. So next on the agenda is the OpenJS security compliance guidelines and the update and the 2.0 update to that. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so I've been working on a lot of updates for that. I don't have the link immediately available to me in this device. Let me try to grab it. Okay. All right, here we are here. If you go into it, you'll see there is a new, I can't really screen share at the moment on this device, unfortunately. So if you go check it out, you'll see that there's a new combination tab in that sheet. And I've been working through the Ulysses feedback and tab and the 1.1 version tab to merge them together into a single tab so that we can Ulysses and I can be on the same page. I've also been going through and updating some items just for phrasing based upon feedback from folks, and also have been going through to document the methodology that's used to validate each item. Now, this this information has typically just been kind of off the top of our heads or in the documentation that we link to, like the NPM or GitHub documentation we link to in the docs itself. But instead, I'm pulling that information out to just have a really clear picture for folks on what is expected of how evaluations go for these. This also came from feedback during some of the surveys I was taking where people would, where it slowed things down because we didn't have a quick answer for how a project maintainer could just quickly go look to see what their configuration for this looked like. Now, some items that's possible, some things require more in-depth analysis, but the idea is that by having all of this documented and then next to that, having the specific finding for the survey, it'll be a little bit easier for us to present how exactly the survey was done and what the results are. Another change that's going on here, which is kind of hard to represent, and I almost need a PowerPoint slide to explain the change. One of the interesting challenges that in the 1.0 version of the compliance guide is that sometimes we want to offer the same kind of recommendation across a number of different contexts. So for example, we have guidelines that say you shouldn't use methods of MFA that are sensitive to phishing. So in other words, we're effectively saying you should not use SMS and you shouldn't use push notifications for your MFA. And then next to that, we explicitly say, like, here's how you disable that and how you configure your NPM or GitHub organization to ensure your MFA settings and things like that. So what this resulted in is these top level guidelines that whose titles and descriptions are effectively exactly the same, except they're slightly different depending upon the tool.
Rudd,
So Ulysses and I,
sorry to interrupt. Are you seeing our faces on the screen? I'm not sure if you're seeing raised hands.
And nothing's being shared, if that's the intention.
no,
And-
I'm not sharing anything right now.
And he posted a link.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't see raised hands. Go ahead, Tobias. Oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, cool. I will just screen share here for, is that the right window? Oh, wrong window. I think that makes it a little bit easier. We're talking about this document, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Just I wanted to like quickly follow up on what you have been asking, Robin. So not everything in here, but everything here that has this column GitHub as a context could be built into an XOR core and then it could run automatically on every OpenJS project, right? So that's, I think, the bridge that I was talking about, where, hey, we work on this Excel sheet, and I think it's pretty incredible in terms of content, but the question is like how to get it into a, like, how can we get it in front of maintainers without asking them to like do something, take some action, take some course, XYZ. And that's what I was referring to in terms of what we could do for the OpenJS. Just having that in all the repositories where it's then like automatically in issues and in pull requests, as a reminder or kind of like as a comment.
Cool. Thanks, Tobias. So what I was saying is that in that sheet, we have this idea of like making sure folks enable MFA and NPM and GitHub, but those items are top level citizens and they're kind of redundant at that top level. So what Ulysses and I have been talking about is a hierarchy here, where there's a top level item around, say, make sure you enable MFA as a secure default, and a secure default being like having it configured in your GitHub organization, having it configured in your NPM organization to make sure that everybody is affected by that. And then having those items specifically for GitHub and NPM hierarchically like contained within the higher level entry around ensuring you have MFA enabled as a secure default. What would the effect of this is that more of a is going to be a bit more of a visual one, just to make it easier to parse through the rows so that there are fewer top level rows and those row entries are focused on the big idea. And then the specific things, places, and how to do those things are contained within another row that has the context of here's how you do it for GitHub, here's how you do it for NPM. And that's how we visually display it instead of showing those as completely independent top level items. It's hard to kind of talk about this now in retrospect without having like a slide deck kind of here to help show you guys
Can you
what this should
explain
look like.
the priority column? Like how you're asking projects to prioritize each of these things?
Well, the priority column in the past, I don't think there is a priority column in this new. There's a priority column is going to be getting.
Priority
Actually, I
group?
thought I took this out. The priority group column is old. That's just kind of a residual artifact from one of the spreadsheets. But we originally, if you recall, had priority groups in this list. But then when it went live and people really looked at it, the feedback was that folks didn't really agree on the nature of the priority groups and how they're organized and how we could define like the most important things. And so I just took the column out entirely after we couldn't come to a consensus on how to do that. So we just removed it.
Okay.
Yep. So the next step here, Ulysses, if you have any thoughts on this, then chime in, that'd be great. But I think the next step here is just to finish reorganizing the rows around this idea, adjust the titling a little bit so that it's more clear, so that those top level items make sense relative to the contextual tool-based items under them. And then we can, yeah, that'll be a big part of the 2.0 launch. So I'm really happy with this change, but I'd love to get folks' feedback on it. Maybe it's easier to look at than hear about, but any thoughts from folks? Nope. Okay. Well, that sheet will be in good shape in a couple of days for y'all to check out, and I'll update y'all in the security chat when that is done. Cool beans. All right. That's the only big item I have for today. There's I think next week's agenda is going to be a lot busier. So if that's all you have, if that's all, folks, that's it for today.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
great-
Thanks, folks. And
Yeah.
definitely do check out the sheet I linked to, please, if you haven't already.
Great. Thanks.
Toodles.
Bye.